everybody, Tom Marks from IGN here to unbox the Magic the Gathering Warhammer 40k Commander decks. There are 4 of these, and for those of you not in the know, they're part of a initiative thing that Magic the Gathering is doing called Universes Beyond, where they take other games or TV shows or universes outside of Magic the Gathering zone, and they make cards or decks or reskins, in this case, brand new cards in those universes outside of Magic canon. So there are 4 of these decks: the Forces of the Imperium, Ruinous Powers, Necron Dynasty, and Tyranid Swarm. And we're going to open them all up. We're going to start with one, show you what's in the box, because they're all similar in terms of what's actually in the packaging. And then we're going to open all of them up and show you some of the cards. Like, each of these decks has a unique art for Sol Ring themed around the faction of the deck. So let's open up Forces of the Imperium. I think this is a good one to start with. 3 of these decks are 3 color, and then one of them is a mono black deck. So this one is white, black, and blue. And I'm just kind of tearing open the bottom of it. And the contents of the package sort of slide out all in one piece like this. So this is just trash, or recycling. Be responsible, save the planet. Inside, the packaging itself has some kind of little hidden features here and there. So this is a pop out of a actual little token thing. There's a bunch of other tokens with the Imperium insignias in the packaging, kind of saves space, reuses some of that cardboard. And in the back is where the actual thing is. So there's this kind of box right here where the actual deck is located, and you have your deck sealed in plastic wrap. And then a life tracker up to 40 life, which has the commander on it on the back. And then a little rule book thing, or not rule book, but kind of a little sheet giving you information about the deck itself, the commander, the strategies involved, that sort of thing. Inquisitor Greyfax being the main commander of this, and Marneus Calgar being kind of the alternate commander for this one. We'll show you those in just a second. But the really exciting thing, of course, no, I'm just kidding, a box. In the box, this folds out. You see it's flat right here, but this is actually a pretty nice design where you just push it on the sides and it pops out into a box of its own. Also has the commander on the front, and then these tabs fold down, this folds over, and you have yourself a little deck box. And this deck box, I believe, actually fits the entire deck, single sleeved. So if you see, you know, it's a little big, right? But if you sleeve this deck up, then it fits nice and snug in here. But let's dive into the actual deck. So there's a pull tab kind of on the back, so you can just grab this. It should tear all around. That opens up. And in here, we have a couple of things, right? So it's very sticky plastic. There's the face commander right there. That's Greyfax. And then Marneus Calgar right behind it. And these 2 cards are foil. So those 2 kind of main commanders are foil, while the rest of the cards in this version are non-foil, except for an oversized card that is basically the main commander. It's kind of a thicker version of it with a foil etched treatment. But there's also an alternate version of these decks that's called the Collector's Edition of them that's a little bit more expensive, a lot more expensive, but every card in the deck is this special surge foil treatment. We don't have that one here today, but we do have the regular versions of all of them to show off. I'm not going to go through every card because there's a lot of them, but I'm going to show off a few select ones. As you can see, there's a lot of the new cards are in the front, and then eventually you get back into reprints, that sort of thing, in the back generally, and then generally the basic lands are all the way in the back. But there's a few more things besides the deck itself. Once you get past the basic lands, which are all unique to every card in this deck, has brand new art for in the Warhammer universe. So it's all, even the basic lands, all the reprints, they're all themed around, you know, Space Marines or Tyranids or whatever it is. Back here we have this oversized, this thicker card. You can see it's a little bit thicker. The foiling treatment is a little different. So you can use this basically as like a placeholder if you want instead of your commander. This is a standard thing in the commander precons nowadays, as are these, which are 10 double-sided tokens. So not actually cards, but tokens that have different tokens that the deck can make on the front and back of them. And then a little, just sort of rules card in the back. Now, some of these decks, Wizards of the Coast actually said that sometimes, we didn't have it happen here, there can be a card from the deck sometimes hidden in these tokens, so that's a thing to watch out for if you get your own. If you're saying, oh, the card's missing, check your tokens in the back. So, that's generally what's in one of these. Like I said, some of this packaging pops out into these little placeholder guys, which you can use for different things, or, you know, if you don't want it, you don't need to keep it, you can recycle it. But we're going to go ahead and open up the other ones of these, all the other 3 decks, and then we're going to show you some of the sort of interesting cards throughout them, right? So there's a couple special versions of Arcane Signet, there's a couple special versions of Sol Ring. We're going to pull out some of the fun ones, show them off nice and detailed. And there you have it. All 4 decks, all 4 Warhammer 40k Commander decks. You have these larger foil etched tokens at the front. I popped out all of the cardboard things. There's one of the larger faction symbols and then 4 of the smaller faction symbols in each of the decks. And then a couple other things here and there, however you want to use those. But I want to show off some cards too, starting with each of these decks has their very own Sol Ring. Can't have a commander deck without your Sol Ring, right? So each one is themed after whatever that faction would have, right? So it's got a little bit of flavor text towards the faction. I think this is a really cool little thing to add to each of these decks because, you know, the Sol Ring kind of just goes in every deck. So to have something that speaks to the faction in those decks is neat. And there's a couple other places that happens. So 3 of these decks, only one of them is monocolor, right? But 3 of them are 3-color, and that means they each get their own command towers too, another thing that just sort of goes into every commander deck. Similarly, there's something like this for the Arcane Signets. Not every deck has an Arcane Signet, but the ones that do have a special one of that. The 2 of the 3-color decks also have, where are they? Here they are, some talismans, which are another classic sort of commander mana rock. So here's talismans in every color, which is really neat, or not every color, but the colors for those decks, which is neat, especially because Talisman of Dominance, which is the blue-black one, shows up in both of the decks that have talismans, both the Ruinous Powers and the Forces of the Imperium decks. And so that means that they each actually have their own Talisman of Dominance, which is, again, pretty cool. On top of that, there are just some exciting cards in here, right? Forces of the Imperium has a couple notable ones are the Golden Throne and Vexilus Praetor, 2 exciting cards out of that deck. I know there are some here and there in these decks that are just like making waves, for lack of a better way of putting it. Another one that's blowing up, Scepter of Eternal Glory from the Necron deck. The Necron deck in general just has a lot of stuff. Resurrection Orb, another card that's showing up there, already getting some buzz online. These are some pretty cool decks though. There's just a ton to get into. I don't want to show all of it off because, again, there's a lot to show off. You can find full deck lists online, but this is generally what you're going to get from any one of these decks, and then what they all look like together. I actually spoke to Wizards of the Coast's Ethan Fleischer, one of the designers on these products, and he said that they tested them very specifically to, play well against each other. I think that's what a lot of people are doing. They're just going to kind of leave them as is and have a pot of 4 playing these Warhammer decks against each other like that, which is pretty neat to think about because all of the cards are in this Universes Beyond universe altogether. Thank you very much to Wizards of the Coast for sending us these decks to open up. We're very grateful for that. And you can find lots more about Magic the Gathering, including my full interview with Ethan Fleischer on IGN.com, so don't go anywhere.